Yeah, so today we're at the Trump Family Farm in Blooming Prairie, Minnesota, and we are going to be joined by Attorney General Keith Ellison today, and members and supporters of Land Stewardship Project from all across southern Minnesota who want to fight for a just food and farm system and want to engage in our elections, because we know how important electing champions are to creating the food and farm system that we need.
We've driven here from Kewaunee County, Wisconsin, which is on the far eastern shore of Wisconsin, right a mile and a quarter off of Lake Michigan. We're here to support our friends and here in Minnesota that are facing a lot of the same issues that we are in Kewaunee County, Wisconsin. That these issues are prevalent all over the country, and I think we need to support each other wherever they happen to be. And we feel that we're willing to travel and support the good effort that's taking place here in Minnesota.
Well, you know what? It's a great opportunity to network with like-minded people, and you know what? It gives you a little shot in the arm and makes you want to keep going on these issues. Sometimes it's kind of hard to see a silver lining when you're battling.
But when you're amongst friends, there's energy.
There's hope.
Yes.
There's lots of hope. Lots of positive hope.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Hope for change.
I'm just here to give a quick introduction. Welcome you all here. My name is Julian OJ. I live in Rice County, outside of Kenyon. I have a small family homestead. We raise chickens for meat and eggs and grow vegetables for family and friends. And I also work at Keepsake Cidery in Dundas, helping manage the orchard there and make hard cider up there. I also am a member of Land Stewardship Project, and as of this year, joined as a board member for the Land Stewardship Action Fund, which is hosting this event today. Really great. For anybody who doesn't know, Land Stewardship Action Fund was formed when it became very clear that we couldn't stay on the sidelines anymore during election cycles, had to get involved. And particularly in today's political environment, it's more important than ever to get actively involved to help champion for the values that we all share of land stewardship and community and justice and health for the people and the land that we live on and work on. So we're really happy to have you all here. To that end, we're like to get everybody together to get members in the community connected to candidates and the political arena more generally. And so that's what today is all about.
I am going to actually introduce and pass it over to Attorney General Keith Ellison to do a quick 3-minute introduction, and then we will start hearing from our speakers today. So Attorney General Ellison.
Thank you. Well, hey everybody, it's good to be here. Before we do anything else, we have to put our hands together for the generous family that is hosting us here today. The Trump family is right, and then let me just say, would the members of the family please wouldn't you mind raising your hand or standing up or something like that? Make a sign, Right. Here we are. We have Ken, we have Sandra, Randy, and we have
Uncle Kenneth and Gloria.
Okay, Uncle Kenneth and Gloria, right here up front in a very fine-looking pair of sweaters they have on. And well, you know, it's warm out here, but let me just tell you, it is it's so generous for you to open up your doors for us, and we appreciate it. And we want you to know that this beautiful farm and your advocacy and leadership, it means a lot to us, right? So one more time, everybody. So, my name is Keith Ellison. I'm your Attorney General. I'd like to be your Attorney General again. I want to tell you that I spent 12 years in the U.S. Congress. Before that, though, Sonia and I were at Lincoln Denham Law Firm in Minneapolis, which is weird, but small world, right? But the reason that I left Congress is because I became very concerned about a number of problems which I think are hurting our country and our state. And I felt that in Congress, I could maybe introduce a bill, maybe get a committee hearing on it, but actually we have enough laws. I think they need to be updated, but we have enough laws to make this economy fairer, and better and more competitive and more supportive of the people who put food on the table for all of us, for small farmers, for small ranchers, and for people who really, I believe, this economy has left behind. And I got one more minute, so I'll just say this. You could put it all in the palm of your hand. There's a guy named Sonny Perdue who was his agriculture secretary. Y'all know who he is?
Unfortunately.
And there's some Wisconsinites here, so welcome. He said in Wisconsin, you know, if you're a dairy farmer, you gotta get back or get big or get out. He said that. That is the opposite of what the Sherman Act stands for. It's the opposite of what the Clayton Act stands for. It's the opposite of what the Packers and Stockyard Act stands for. Our economy should be supporting small farmers, ranchers, and growers, and regulating the big ones to make sure that's what is the opposite. And I believe there have been a number of folks who have been organizing. There have been a number of folks who have been writing books. There have been a number of folks who are doing a lot of important things to help bring about a rebirth in the American family farm, the Minnesota family farm. And I think that we are at the very edge of a movement. This is a movement, and it's going to take all of us. And so my 3 minutes are up, but I do thank you for giving me a moment to just make some opening statements. I hope you understand where I'm coming from, and in a little while I'll tell you some of the things that I've been working on. So thank you very much.
So in this most recent fish kill, 2,500 fish, largely brown trout, were found dead in Rush Creek near Lewiston, Minnesota. Now I say major fish kill because there are many smaller ones in between. In a recent meeting with the MPCA, we were told that on average there are 500 fish kills every year in Minnesota. And when talking to the MPCA members, they told us that they could think of one account of a polluter being held to account in the state in this last year. Right now in Winona County, there are over 1,300 residents who cannot safely drink the water out of their own tap due to dangerous nitrate levels. In fact, in the city of Utica, it was shown that 46% of wells are above the safe drinking limit in nitrates. 46%. Attorney General Ellison, if one of these investigations gives us a specific source of these pollutions, what can you and your office do to hold agricultural polluters to account in southeast Minnesota?
Well, let me just say that what you just shared is horrifying to me, deeply concerning, but I gotta tell you, I didn't even know about it. Now, I'll take some responsibility for that, but we've got to build our communication now, because I'm telling you, we have an environmental group that's working on water right now in northern Minnesota. We've got to get together and have a meeting to just talk about these fish kills you've been talking about. There are Minnesota statutes that can hold folks to account, and I can tell you right now, Enbridge busted the aquifer. We're holding them accountable for that right now. But there's many more that you just pointed out. There are Minnesota statutes that allow us to enforce this. Meetings like this are important because it puts us in touch. Why don't we get together and figure out what we're going to do if we can identify the source, the cause, and then let's explore our legal options. All right? All right.
I'm standing here a week after a hurricane hit my homeland of Puerto Rico. Hurricane Fiona, which has devastated us 5 years after Hurricane Maria to the day. And these environmental crises that are hitting our communities on the front line across the globe, well, they're increasing. They're increasing in frequency, and they're increasing in magnitude. And there are some reasons that could be happening. Which is why we're standing here today. The folks there, people ask me, are your family fine? Are your friends fine? And they say, yeah, well, we get a text. They say they're fine, but they're fine. And they say, yeah, I'm fine. I don't have electricity and I don't have clean water, but I'm fine.
And so, as we talk about these fish kills, we talk about the clean water as an issue. We have an opportunity here to protect what has not been protected there by the U.S. government. At the same time, we have an opportunity to connect to international movements, because there are people there that, one, need clean water, and we can be funding and resourcing those efforts, but two, migrants are coming from all across Latin America because of climate disaster, and when they're here, they're moving, and we're moving them into places to be next to an incinerator where their asthma levels are over twice of their neighbor, right? So Copal is working on a cumulative impacts assessment legislation, so that way when the Minnesota Pollution Control Agency is doing permitting and other environmental assessments, they need to also do a human assessment on the impacts of the impacts of projects that are extractive projects. So, you know, Keith, you know what Copal stands for, you know about the work we're doing, but we need to continue to press, you know, how are we going to hold accountable organizations and for-profit corporations that are impacting especially immigrant communities, communities of color, communities that don't speak English.
Well, let me tell you, this is a very serious concern of mine. I filed a lawsuit against ExxonMobil, Koch Industries, and the American Petroleum Institute, not because of climate change, but because in 1979, scientists came to them and they said, hey, we think your product is causing climate change. And they said, that's not true. And they had started a campaign of deception to lie about it. And in fact, internal documents showed that they had already been strengthening their derricks and doing a whole lot of things internally to adjust to climate change. And we can prove that they knew it and they lied about it. And in fact, they had a whole campaign of deception wherein they said that anybody who said there was climate change was a chicken little. And if I urge you all to read the complaint that we filed. It's like this thick, but it's good reading.
Bedtime reading.
Yeah. What's that?
Bedtime reading.
Bedtime reading.
Yeah.
But I wanted you to know about it because it affects, certainly it affects these climate events, extreme weather events, but it also screws up the climate so that certain insects don't get frozen and eliminated, and because it doesn't get cold as it used to get, wet water in the fields, so then crops then might rot or things like that, and rising issues in terms of other communities that do that, and just sort of a bunch of problems that it's causing, which we could mitigate if they would have been honest from the beginning. Now they have to, and that's what we're demanding of them. And so, yeah, climate continues to be a serious problem. It is one of those things that it might affect certain communities more, but it affects everyone. Everyone. Nobody's spared. There's nobody on. There's no allies when it comes to climate change. There's just people who hit harder and people who hit worse. So let me just say that this is something that we do consider a top priority, and we are pursuing it. And I may say to you, if I may, and y'all stop me if I can't say this. One of the things that my opponent says is that I shouldn't be harassing ExxonMobil. and that, he literally said that. Y'all, he is a union-busting hedge fund lawyer. He really is. I'm not making this up. And he said that he would get rid of our consumer division and put everybody into criminal prosecution, which the county attorneys have not asked for. So this is a priority of mine. I understand how it affects our community, and we are going to bring justice to this issue for a whole range of communities that are affected. Thank you.
My name is Jim Gardner. My wife and I are pastured poultry farmers in Spring Grove. When people ask me what I do for a living, this is very predictable almost every time. I'm met with stares, confusion. You are what? You're a farmer? What does your wife do? She's a farmer too. What? Where do you guys get your money?
Communities of color make up over 20% of the Minnesota population, but less than 1% of farmers. And that disparity is not because we don't like to farm. Rather, it's because of racial discrimination and obstacles in access to land, training and technical assistance.
I also want to welcome you to the front lines. We have been fighting industrial agriculture for years, for nearly 20 years, and that's how we made our first acquaintance with Land Stewardship Project, and we're so thankful for their leadership and their guidance. 20 years ago, we fought, and my brother Brad was very involved, we fought installation of what was called Ripley Dairy. We are sitting in Westfield Township. Across the road is Ripley Township. And they were going to place, at that time, the largest dairy operation in the state of Minnesota, just a few miles north of our farm. And so, thanks to the efforts of LSP, we were able to fight off installation of that large factory farm. And there's a sign Emily's showing from back in about 20 years ago. We have a serious problem in rural Minnesota. We have a number of large factory farms, and it's a reflection of the oversized power of multinational corporations.
We have gobs of information on the industry and the ability for people to fight against factory farms moving into their neighborhood. That's the work I do, and I'm darn proud of it.
So I just want to talk about some next steps here. I also would love to recognize some other people who are here with us today and say thank you to Commissioner Tom Peterson for being with us today. It means a lot to have you here, know that you're listening and in partnership with us. And want to say thank you to some candidates who have shown up to be with us today. Alita Baroud is here, Keith McLean, and Kate Falvey. If I'm missing anyone, these are candidates who are running and want to get to know you. So yes, definitely stay around, hang out, talk to people, because that's what we're here for, community. So speaking of which, though, you have champion candidates who are running to represent you for whatever the values that you hold are. Get to know your candidates who are running at all levels of government and show up for them. It's really important that you are engaging with them, taking part in their campaign, and playing a role in getting them elected. We need that support. The candidates do, and what we're fighting for does. Additionally, through Land Stewardship Action Fund, we have some upcoming ways that you can take action with us. The first is that we are doing deep canvassing, which is intentional values-based conversations with voters to really understand how we are voting in line or not in line with our values. And we are deep canvassing around soil health and healthcare. And we would love to have you all join us on these phone banks to talk to voters and have in-depth conversations with them about what matters to you and to them. And also we have Get Out the Vote coming up. We're going to be calling other Land Stewardship Project members just to have a conversation. Say, have you voted yet? You haven't? Great. What's your plan to vote? We did this calling in 2020, and I can say from other staff as well, not just myself, it was the best calling we've done. It was really enjoyable, and we would love to have you all take part in that, calling other LSP members to just connect and make sure that we're all getting out the vote. And we are going to be passing out commitment forms. So that's going to be, if you want to take any of these actions I just talked about with LSP, we've got a lot of ways to engage. Grab a commitment form, and we'll follow up with you on that. Thank you all.
So what did you think about today's event?
It was wonderful. Absolutely wonderful. I learned many things, and we just all got to get in there and fight.
Keith, what are some of your key takeaways from today's event?
You know, the key takeaway from this Land Stewardship Project meeting for me was that people really have a lot of passion and a lot of love for this land, and that they're not going to just sit around and let factory farms ruin it. It was great to be on the Tron family farm, a multi-generational farm, but you know, they're dealing with the challenges of factory farms. A lot of other folks were here. We had people from communities of color who want to farm, Hmong farmers, Latino farmers, and we had a friend from Iowa and Wisconsin. It was actually a very diverse group that we had here from all over the Midwest, all unified on the idea that these factory farms are bad for the environment, bad for wages, bad for inclusion, bad for the family farm as an institution in Minnesota. And so, you know what? I already have several meetings set up on issues of water, on issues of antitrust, on other critical issues, to make sure that we do something about it. Because I think the Attorney General should be on the side of the farmer, on the family farmer, and I absolutely am.
Did you guys enjoy the event today?
Absolutely. We did.
Okay.
Yes.
How about you?